match number 3 of our best 3 out of 5 finals. It's 1 match apiece, and the third decks that the guys have put together into their unified standard package are Abzan Aggro for Josh Utter-Layton and Blue-White Heroic for Owen Turtenwald. Where are you at with, let's look at the deck list. Here's Owen's Blue-White Heroic. Now, you talked about this deck earlier, Luis, as being something, it's just a bunch of cards that none of the other decks want.
None of these cards really overlap with any other deck in the format, except for Seeker of the Way competing with Jeskai and Mardu decks, and then maybe Temple of Enlightenment or Flooded Strand, you know, in a deck here and there, like Esper, for example. So that is one of the advantages. The other advantage is that Heroic is one of the decks that has some very swingy matchups. With the right matchup, Heroic actually is very, very favored. I don't think an Abzan aggro deck with a bunch of removal is really what you would hope to play against, but God's willing and Johnny's presence still go a long way.
Josh, meanwhile, you talked about it, has an Abzan aggro deck.
And this is a fairly standard-looking Abzan aggro deck, except you see Herald of Torment, which looks better if you expect to be facing like Devotion decks or other decks you want to fly over. It's not, I think, what you want against Heroic. But I do like, you know, from Josh's perspective, having Ultimate Price, Abzan Charm. Thoughtseize is actually fairly decent too. And Jamoka's Command of Valor Stance. He's got a decent amount of removal. This is one of the more removal-heavy decks you could choose to play against the Blue-White Heroic deck with Self-Inflicted Wound, which is a very good card in the sideboard, one of the best, as well as Ultimate Price and another Thoughtseize. So Josh has the removal spells necessary to beat the Heroic deck. Of course, Heroic needs to draw 2 creatures and a bunch of protection spells or against Self-Inflicted Wound, or just 1 creature and all protection spells against the other removal, as long as Owen doesn't get Thoughtseized here.
Let's head down to the match. Now, this blue-white deck, not using up a lot of space, but one of the most interesting things I found about Owen's setup for his 3 decks for Unified Standard here, 0 copies of Dig Through Time in any of his lists. Dig Through Time just on the sideline saying, what about me, coach? Put me in. I won't play.
If you end up not running Esper or Jeskai or Sultai, then yeah, I guess you're not going to end up running many digs.
Yeah, Josh had his digs in the Esper Dragons deck last week. This time around, they're in Jeskai. But, I mean, that was definitely... I don't know. It feels like Josh is using more of the best cards in Standard somehow.
Yes, but Owen's also choosing to do so by playing Blue-White Heroic, which doesn't overlap with any of the other cards, which means he's got a whole deck comprised of cards you wouldn't see otherwise. But Blue-White Heroic is still a very good deck.
Yeah, no, I think it's matchups that sent them down this this particular set. The fact that neither player has a true control deck is pretty interesting. I mean, I think that's a little bit of thinking about, okay, what is Josh going to bring to the table? How do I set my matchups up? I mean, I don't think it's an accident that Owen has multiple aggressive decks against a player who played Esper Dragons at the last Pro Tour.
Right. So Josh Thoughtseized Owen's only creature, except Owen had already scried a Favorite Hoplite to the top, and now has Favorite Hoplite, 2 Ordeals, and 2 protection spells, which is exactly where you want to be. I think Owen's going to be able to run away with this game.
Ordeal on the Hoplite, attack. Death Dealer means Owen knows pretty much exactly what he's playing against. Hoplite certainly means Josh knows what he's playing against, although he may wonder about green mana for Dramoka's Command. Is about the only wrinkle left.
And Josh is actually missing his 3rd land here, so he can't even start casting these Abzan Charms. Josh can cast Dramoka's Command to make Owen sacrifice Ordeal of Heliod and make the Rakshasa a 3/3, but that's not particularly exciting. I think that's his only play, though.
It's the only legal card he can cast.
And fighting with that is not going to work out well. This at least slows down the beating, except Owen's just going to slam Ordeal of Thassa, the actual good Ordeal. And this is why Owen played Ordeal of Heliod first. It was a very good play by Owen.
Played the bad Ordeal first because of exactly the card Dramoka's Command?
I would assume so, yes. It does not play around Thoughtseize. It's weaker against Thoughtseize, but it's better against Dramoka's Command, and your opponent already played a Thoughtseize.
Right.
Because you have to sacrifice it, you still gain the 10. That's awesome.
Oh.
I guess given that, you could have just played Ordeal of Thassa. It's all the same.
I did not realize you still got it.
I have not seen that interaction come up. That is pretty funny, though.
Now, Defiant Strike. He does have the land so that he'll be able to leave a protection spell up. In addition to this ordeal, draw some cards, attack for 6.
And given that Josh is on 2 lands, you already know that he's not going to play 2 removal spells in the same turn.
Wow, what a complete blowout. This is what the heroic deck does, right? Sometimes it just looks absurdly good. God's willing for pro color here. Josh has got
might as well go for the kill.
Yeah, I mean, it's a potential regenerating blocker, so you got to get to it somehow. And Owen, he's down to 2 ways to defend his creature from instants, so I like this play. Seems pretty safe. I guess he's got to target it one more time to make it lethal.
But he still has another God's Willing up, so
yeah.
And his creature's already got protection from black.
There you go. Owen Turnwald up a quick game with the blue-white heroic deck. Interesting stuff. Pretty hard to operate with Obs on aggro on just 2 lands, huh?
There aren't very many decks in the format that successfully operate on 2 lands, and certainly not any deck playing Sandstep Citadel.
Now, they go to the sideboards. Maybe not the matchup they were expecting to run into, but it's certainly an opponent that each of them understands.
I would expect to play against an Obzon deck, reasonable amount of the time here. Owen doesn't have a ton of sideboard. He's got, I guess he could play Encased in Ice. He didn't see Brimaz, so I could see Encased, being good against all the standard creatures you expect. Other than that, I mean, Treasure Cruise is good in post-board games because people tend to have more removal spells. I could see Monastery Mentor also. If you expect Self-Inflicted Wound, Mentor is a good way to fight it.
You don't like Aqueous Form in a matchup where the ground can get bogged down?
I don't think you're as likely to want Aqueous Form. I could see Owen maybe siding it in, but against a deck that's basically going to have you expect a lot of removal spells post-board, Aqueous Form is a little less impressive. It's more for the Devotion-type decks, I believe.
I'll buy that. What about Josh's side?
Josh improves more after board. Self-Inflicted Wound is just a very, very good card. It gets around God's Willing and Johnny's Presence, so Owen has to have 2 creatures in play to protect from it. And then Ultimate Price, Thoughtseize, and Duress are all fine cards, too, in the matchup. I could see Herald of Torment being one of the cards you want to take out. Brimaz actually doesn't seem that bad because Owen's unlikely to be able to kill it. And I like all of Josh's spells for sure.
Makes sense to me.
The interesting thing will be what both players bring next match, since we're definitely getting another match. I think Owen's most likely to bring Obzon. There's just no deck that he doesn't really want to play against, and given that information, maybe Josh plays Jeskai again, but it depends. If Owen thinks that his Jeskai matchup is favorable with something like Blue-Eyed Heroic, I could see Owen doing that instead.
All right. Well, let's head down to the match. Dueling comes into play tap lands. Josh's draw looks a little better this time around. Goes with the Death Dealer on turn 2.
Drawing the Death Dealer was very good for Josh. Josh's hand is kind of what you want, which is just 1 threat in all spells. Whereas Owen is just going to lead with Encased in Ice, which is a good way to negate that.
Is that Monastery Mentor?
Oh yeah, that's a great sideboard card in this matchup, especially since Josh is bringing in 3 Self-Inflicted Wounds.
Wow.
If Owen had more Mentors, I think he'd be happier.
And Josh's Thoughtseize is presumably going to take the Mentor?
I would assume so. Hero of Erois is just not as good as Mentor in this spot. It is cheaper, so if Owen drew, Owen can play God's Willing backup sooner, but Hero doesn't even have anything making it good right now.
Josh does take the Monastery Mentor with its Thoughtseize. Owen draws Ordeal of Thassa.
It's a good draw. It's what you want. And Josh is not going to play Ultimate Price into the hero. If Josh draws Thoughtseize or Duress, he's pretty happy. Don't actually mind Rakshasa, because then you can play Rakshasa, And then if Owen has a way to target the hero, you just let it happen. End of turn, cast Ultimate Price, untap, cast Obs on Charm. So Owen needs to draw another protection spell this turn.
He draws another Encase in Ice.
Not a bad draw. And this is the sort of spot where you really don't want to target the hero before it attacks.
All right. Owen goes for the Ordeal on hero. Attack. Trigger.
And then
counter.
A cheaper Encase in Ice.
Just 1 mana. Hero's ability applies there too, so no blocking for Josh Utterlayton.
And so here, Josh knows about the God's Willing, but you still go Ultimate Price end of turn. Owen saves it with God's Willing, then you untap and play Obs on Charm. So both players are going to have no cards in hand and essentially nothing in play.
Yeah, it's just 4 land to 4 land, and they're in top deck mode, right?
Josh gets the first draw, but Owen gets a scry.
Josh's draw was a Llanowar Wastes. Owen's scry was a Seeker of the Way.
So,
yeah, Obs on Charm does deal with the hero. No cards from the Ordeal. Let the top deck war begin.
This is the sort of spot where I'd expect Josh to have an advantage. His spells tend to do more. But Owen's up now 2 spells to 0, so
yeah.
Given that, Owen might be ahead, but imagine this board and then Josh just draws Siege Rhino or Anafenza. Yeah. I guess it's not that hard to imagine a Siege Rhino.
Encase in Ice number 3. Owen just keeps clearing a path and attacking with his 2/2s. Josh now down to 9.
All right. Owen was running as cold as ice earlier, but that appears to have changed.
He's no longer encased in ice, obviously.
So Josh needs to draw something. I guess technically not this turn, but well,
yeah, a spell from Owen would trigger prowess and kill him.
This is pretty good.
Place me with the Mana to Monstrous too.
So now, if Owen draws a spell, Josh doesn't die, even though Josh could take a point of damage to Monstrous. The question is, does he want to play around another targeted removal spell? I guess he doesn't really need to right now.
Defiant Strike. Interesting. Do you just do this? Wow. I mean, it doesn't do anything all by itself, but it's a cantrip.
So you attack with both. Josh blocks one. You can Defiant Strike the other one. Yeah, I think you'd rather just draw and then hope to hit another targeting spell.
Yeah, he's going to do it pre-combat because he wants to see what the card is while he's still in his main phase and potentially cast an enchantment. It's a temple.
Doesn't seem like you want to attack here. You can throw away here Veros to do 2 damage. That does not seem very exciting.
Does 3 damage, right? The prowess trigger.
Right, sorry, 3.
And it makes him tap a pain land, so it's kind of 4, isn't it?
Yes, but you don't have an effective way of getting the last point in.
Granted.
I guess Owen's just going to turn off Mana Confluence this way.
Yeah, it turns all the pain lands off. Josh presumably is going to block and go Monstrous.
So Josh is still obviously looking for Siege Rhino here. Other than that, Owen needs a God's Willing or something.
Yeah. I mean, Josh with only a Mana Confluence in his hand, I assume he's going to tap out here rather than try to represent something. Owen's also...
Well, if you tap out, you do... I guess you die to any... Tapping out means you die to any card that can target the Seeker, but I don't think you can afford to lose the Fleeceman and still try to win the game.
Yeah, I agree with you. Self-inflicted wound off the top takes care of the Seeker, so God's willing, no longer an out for Owen Turnewald. He's gotten Josh down to 1.
All right, Owen needs to draw a land here, or not, rather, he drew a land. He needs to draw a threat here, because as soon as Owen draws a threat, Josh has to stop attacking, because Josh also missed on his turn.
Owen just keeps drawing land.
So Josh, Mana Confluence, literally the worst card in the deck right now.
Wow.
Well, it's not good for either of them.
Owen's got one more draw phase. In fact, the Fleeceman can just start attacking now, because Owen will be the one that's obliged to block. Rakshasa Death Dealer means I don't know what Owen can draw. Wow, got him to 1. Such a close game. Favorite Hoplite not going to get the job done, though. Josh Utter-Layton sends us to game 3.
Yeah, Fleeceman takes big chunks out of Owen until he's got none left. He needed to draw a creature before Josh drew another creature to stop the Fleeceman, but that did not happen. Both players drew a string of lands, and it turned out Josh had the extra Fleeceman in play. So
yeah, Josh starting with the self-inflicted wound was the crucial start to that, right?
So when Owen had both creatures out, Josh was at 5. Owen had the alternate line of attacking with both. Josh blocks one, and then if Owen, the problem is, so the ideal scenario is Josh blocks one, and then if Josh goes to 4 off Monstrous, you can Defiant Strike to kill him. But Owen does not need, or Josh does not need to activate the Monstrous if Owen just passes priority there.
Right.
So if you block the Seeker, then, well, no, you block the Hero of Erois. So you block the Hero of Erois, because then if Owen casts Defiant Strike on Seeker, you go to 1, but the hero is not big enough to kill the lion. Like, you can just not Monstrous the lion. And if you target the hero, then you go to 2 instead, and you're able to Monstrous go to 1. So I don't think it's true that Owen should have just attacked with both and cast it. So
yeah, no, he didn't have the kill. I think he needed to see the card off Defiant Strike. If he hits any targeting effect there, including sorcery speed ones like the various enchantments, then he's good.
Yeah.
I like the way Owen played. Then the interesting question is, when he misses, should he attack and put Josh at 1? Which I think I like.
Putting Josh to 1 means that God's Willing gets better, because otherwise it would not have been lethal if Josh, because let's say you pass the turn there, right? Josh is not gonna Monstrous end up turning and take a damage because he has so much mana.
Correct.
He's probably gonna wait. Then you're not lethal with God's Willing. And putting Josh to 1 means sometimes you can just draw another creature and Josh just misses for a turn, and then you get to attack for lethal.
On to game 3. Overall series tied at 1 match apiece. This match tied at 1 game apiece. Favorite Hoplite.
Yeah, great hands for both of them. Josh has got some very painful lands. This is one of the drawbacks to Alps on aggro. Here you're looking at taking Ordeal of Thassa is my assumption, just because you don't have a good answer to the Hoplite with Ordeal. You could take the hero. That's actually not unreasonable to take the hero and just hope Owen doesn't go for turn 2 Ordeal out of fear of like self-inflicted wound or ultimate price. But if you take the hero and then Owen goes land, attack, land, Ordeal, attack, you don't love that scenario, I guess, because you don't even get to Obzon Charm it. So this is actually kind of a tough thought stays here.
What do you take?
Given the information Josh has, which is exactly the same as the information we have now, I would have taken the Ordeal. That was my first inclination. I kind of like just attack, play hero here, but I guess if... When played Mana Confluence instead of playing a plane, so he takes an extra damage. I guess that leaves him more alive to cast a blue spell and play a Temple? Interesting. Now, because you do Defiant Strike, you can just attack with both. if Josh blocks to get a Ordeal out of, or a God's Willing out of your hand, you just cast Defiant Strike, and it's very good for Owen. Owen could also consider just casting Defiant Strike now to try to draw an Ordeal. It's a higher payoff if you do draw the Ordeal, and the fact they drew another Defiant Strike actually makes this very good, because now he can still just attack Defiant Strike, and if Josh blocks, it's great for Owen.
Yeah, that's the plan. Attack, attack. He knows that Josh knows about the Gods Willing, which I feel like makes Josh even more inclined to block.
Right, knowing about the Gods Willing makes Josh want to trade Rakshasa for Gods Willing, and it turns out Owen has drawn Defiant Strike, and he already used Defiant Strike, so it makes it even less likely that he has another one.
All true. Yeah, there's the block, and there's the Defiant Strike. Drawing Battle-Wise Hoplite.
Well, Owen does get to just slam on Anafenza here.
Yeah, he's like, fine, I'll play a 4/4.
Or Josh, rather. I don't think this is great for Josh. If Owen draws anything, Josh is in a bit of trouble, because
Josh is beat already.
Yeah,
his lands have been painful.
Just attack with the hero, and if Josh blocks, he just gets God's Willing. And then Josh's plan is to, I guess, Obzon Charm away the hero. Hopefully, for Josh's sake, he draws an untapped land and can just play a Siege Runner. That's his best shot. If he has to Obzon Charm, paying a bunch of life, so he goes to 6, he goes to 2 here to cast Obzon Charm, and then he goes to 1 to cast Siege Runner. Actually, according to the cards in play, Josh is still technically live. Just almost anything from Owen ends the game.
Yeah, Josh is going to go ahead and Obzon Charm now before Owen gets another draw phase.
Yeah,
draw step, sorry.
Point Josh has taken approximately 1 million from his lands.
Scry land for Owen. Attack, attack. Josh falls to 2, but Owen did not have anything to kill him with. Scries a land to the bottom. Josh is what? 1 pain for the Siege Rhino?
Well, if Josh goes to 4 here and Owen misses again, Josh is semi-stabilized.
Owen misses again.
So Owen is again in the spot where he can sacrifice a creature to deal a couple damage to Josh.
Yep.
Owen is unlucky that he hit 4 lands in a row, but lucky it was Temple, Normal Land, because that's the best configuration of those 4 lands. So I think I like just playing Fleecemane here. You don't take any damage, and you certainly can't cast any of your other spells very, very effectively. You could go to 2 to cast Rakshasa, I guess. Is that better? You then die to God's Willing. Currently, you're not dying to God's Willing. So I kind of like not
Owen
casting.
declined to sacrifice a creature for 2 damage there. He took the opposite line that he took in the last game.
And here's the rough part about Heroic, is when you're just drawing 2/2s and 1/2s with few abilities. Stand Step Citadel is kind of a nice draw. You can at least start casting spells without taking damage. Is it good to take 1 to cast Rakshasa? I think you die to God's Willing, but now if you cast Rakshasa, and now you die to Encase in Ice. So it depends which one you want to play around. You saw 3 Encases last turn, or last game. There's probably 3 God's Willing left, so they're about even, but casting Rakshasa at least gets a Rakshasa in play, so that seems a little better.
Yeah, you do die to all future God's Willings, though, whereas you only die to Encase in Ice exactly right now.
Right. This makes Encase in Ice worse the rest of the game, whereas you're kind of in trouble against God's Willing most of the game.
That's kind of what I was thinking. I'm not sure I want to take this point of damage here.
Yeah. Well, but next turn you're going to be able to leave mana up for Obzon Charm without paying it. So by casting this now, you give Owen 1 draw step, but then you're better in the future here.
Ordeal, Fasa.
So Ordeal can go on the Hoplite. At the very least, that's going to happen in order to draw some cards here on the Battle-Wise Hoplite, or Favorite Hoplite rather. So you get to make Favorite Hoplite a 4/5 and draw 2 cards because the damage is prevented this turn. So You could, if you, Owen's actually got a kind of interesting spot. What if you attack with everything and hope to draw in case Knight's off the OVO? The problem is if you miss, you lose both your your battle-wise hoplites. That seems a
Death
little
Dealer
ambitious.
can't regen, though. Like, Death Dealer's
True.
only a trade.
I think it's just going to be this. And then if you draw, God's willing, you win the game.
How about a Treasure Cruise?
That's actually very good. It's not the game, but it is
Right.
it is quite good. I think
He'll take it.
yeah, I think Owen is in pretty good shape now. Owen's got to be a heavy favorite now that he's drawn that Treasure Cruise because Josh gets to block with just the Siege Rhino here, and then Owen gets to cast Cruise, leaving 2 mana up still.
Yeah, here's Treasure Cruise. Wow, Stubborn Denial. And Seeker.
All right, those are 2 spells at least, and Stubborn Denial is going to be good this game at some point.
Owen's choosing to leave it up rather than cast the Seeker here.
So Josh, he could attack with Siege Rhino. Josh, assuming that his Obzon Charm plus Jamoka's Command does something, it's possible that he wants to just play it safe and pass. Owen did just draw 3 cards off Treasure Cruise, which does make me think my removal spells are not quite guaranteed to work.
Yeah, Josh is going to play defense.
Owen doesn't actually have a great attack here.
But he just plays 2 creatures and chips the turn, right?
Yeah. The question is, does Josh end of turn cast Obzon Charm, or does he cast a Jamoka's Command, or does he go Monstrous? My expectation is that he leads with Obzon Charm on the 4/5.
He is lining up Obzon Charm. Points it at the 4/5. Owen says no.
Owen, he has to Stubborn Denial here because if he doesn't, then he just doesn't have a 4-power creature to cast Stubborn Denial with.
Does not get to take advantage of the prowess triggers from the Seeker, which is all on Owen's end step.
No, and Josh could cast a Jamoka's Command here, but it wouldn't really do anything. So, even if you
deal him 2 damage.
True. Even if you successfully killed the Hoplite, it still makes the Obzon Charm a moot point. So there's no reason that you can't get around Stubborn Denial there. So Josh kills favorite Hoplite now.
Yeah, he's going for main phase. He's going to go for the other Obzon Charm.
Doing it main phase in case Owen has anything, it won't trigger the Seeker, but of course if Owen had anything, then that would have also been good enough, most likely.
Defiant Strike. Wow. Are all the creatures lethal now?
They are, but
all the creatures
Josh has Jamoka's Command. So we're going to see.
which takes 2 damage.
Owen attacks with everything, and Josh will just pass. He won't cast Jamoka's Command. Owen will cast Defiant Strike. So yeah, it looks like Owen's just going to, again, pre-combat Defiant Strike. He gets to scry as well here to try to look for something else. Josh could actually go for it here. He could cast Jamoka's Command, go to 1. You know, I don't think that's unreasonable. You might as well let the scry happen first.
Wow. All right. Prowess triggers from the Seeker. Lifelink trigger from the Seeker. Scry from the Battlewise Hoplite is at the bottom of this.
Yeah. Oh, there's the Aqueous Form. I guess Owen did keep the Aqueous Form in, and actually, if Josh,
bring it in.
Yeah.
Now what?
Well, you cast Aqueous Form. If you cast it, you're presumably going to win the game. Except Josh does have
Jamoka's Command.
Yeah, so Josh can actually play it a few ways if he wants. Josh can wait till Owen attacks, and then make him sacrifice the Aqueous Form with Jamoka's Command, and also fight something else. This actually has lined up to be kind of a blowout for Josh, depending on how this goes. There's obviously a lot of different cards Owen can target. My guess is you go for it. I guess Owen doesn't really have to... Yeah, I guess he just if he puts it on Favored Hoplite, it reduces the chance of a blowout, because if you put it on Favored Hoplite, the problem is that's not lethal. So Owen has to put it somewhere else, and that means Josh can go make you sacrifice it, fight my Siege Rhino on like one of your 2/2s or something. So right now we have Battle's Hoplite going to be a 4/4. The question for Josh is he could. So Josh could just fight the Hoplite, that's getting targeted right now with the Aqueous form, and that would give Owen one less scry because Owen wouldn't get to attack and scry on the attack trigger. I think you actually wait to see if Owen puts the card on top or not.
Wow.
Because if he puts it on top, at this point you just have to assume Owen's last card is nothing. And then Owen goes to attack. You make him sacrifice the Aqueous form, and then you fight Fleecemane on the other Battlewise Hoplite, and then Siege Rhino blocks the now 4/4 attacking Battlewise Hoplite that is in fact blockable. I think that's what I like. The question is if Owen scries to the bottom, maybe you just kill it in response because you just want to give him less outs to God's Willing here. The other funny thing is that Brimaz is white and all of the rest of Josh's creatures are green. So Josh has outs to just play Brimaz and not die to God's Willing. Yeah, there's a lot of insane stuff going on here.
All right, Josh. He's looking at Dromika's command to fizzle the Aqueous form.
That's what it looks like.
Fight the Battlewise Hoplite before Aqueous form gets there. So he would basically get a +1/+1 counter out of doing it this way.
He gets a +1/+1 counter out of doing it this way, and Owen gets one less scry. This also plays around Owen having like another trick as his last card, but I think you're gonna have trouble beating that regardless.
Yeah. All right, Siege Rhino kills the Hoplite. God's Willing is the top card.
Except
whoa!
Josh is now gonna play a white creature, and he's got a black-green creature and a white creature out, so no overlaps here.
How did that all just happen?
And
yeah, if Josh had let Aqueous form, well, it wouldn't describe, it wouldn't have done anything. But yeah, Owen now is about to draw God's Willing. Crazy.
And now Josh could actually attack with the Siege Rhino. So, Owen's actually going to be in better shape because Owen's forcing a trade now. So God's Willing is going to be lethal no matter which one Owen kills, unless Owen kills actually no. If Owen kills the Fleecemane, then Josh can live with Brimaz.
He killed the Fleecemane instead of the Death Dealer because Monstrous is a thing. But now, if he had killed the Death Dealer, then all of Josh's creatures would be white. He just wasn't thinking about Brimaz?
Well, Josh hasn't shown him that yet. So
True.
And at this point, you might as well attack with the Siege Rhino. You're not getting anywhere if you don't start killing Owen.
All of a sudden, Josh's creatures do not overlap in a color. Yeah. God's Willing no longer lethal. That was insane.
And so now, Owen actually doesn't have a ton of draw steps if Josh keeps attacking with the Rhino. And if Josh draws another Siege Rhino, then all of a sudden Josh is not dead to God's Willing.
Was Owen supposed to kill Death Dealer there instead of Fleecemane?
Brimaz is just not a very played card. I don't know how likely that is. The problem, I guess they're both green, so anything like Courser or Warden of the First Tree, which are slightly more played, wouldn't matter. So it's just literally whether a mono white creature versus a mono black creature, because the Fleecemane line Monstrous is clearly not going to come into play here.
I mean, that seems like the reason to kill Fleecemane is because the possibility that Monstrous is going to matter. I mean, if you're all in on God's Willing, you're supposed to kill Death Dealer.
Technically, I guess it's close. And again, a mono white creature or a mono black creature are the only differences.
Right. I guess what's there are a mono black creature that's even possible?
I guess there really aren't any. So
if there's this, Brimaz is a card that exists and could come up. Like there's no mono black creature, I don't think.
So now do you attack with the Brimaz is the question.
Tasigur? Is that a card that could be effective?
Tasigur, yeah. Someone said it in the chat. Yeah, Tasigur is actually more likely than Brimaz. I think that made sense. So now Owen can just eat the token, but he cannot double block the Brimaz and eat the token without using his God's Willing.
Herald of Torment too, by the way.
Herald of Torment's like less played, and you'd expect it to be sided out. And someone said Wingmate Rock in the chat. Like, yes, Wingmate Rock is a card, but it's not a card I expect to be good in this matchup. So I could see Josh not wanting Wingmate Rocks in his deck. Owen actually just has a draw step here. Owen can upkeep Scry and try to look for something, but other than that, I mean, he's actually potentially dead next turn.
So you think he should upkeep, pick one color for pro color, and hope to scry into a second God's Willing?
He could do that. I guess if Siege Rhino takes him to 1, yeah, you might as well put it on the Battlewise Hoplite too, because you get double scry out of it.
Sure. Aqua's Storm is also lethal.
Yeah, also Encased in Ice, you can kill...
Right, so you name white, because then Encased in Ice can hit the green creature.
Mm-hmm. And there's the Aqueous Form. He finds it on the second scry.
Wow, just in the nick of time. God's Willing to trigger 2 scries to find the Aqueous Form. Josh Utter-Leyton almost won that game with a surprise Brimaz to blank God's Willing. But Aqueous Form is going to get the job done. Owen Turtenwald, ladies and gentlemen.
There we go. That was a very cool game.
That was a great game of Magic. That was fun.
Oh, yeah.
Owen Turtenwald now leads 2 matches to 1. We're playing best 3 out of 5, so he is at championship point, I guess. If he wins one of the next 2 matches, he is our inaugural Standard Super League champion. Josh Utter-Leyton's going to have to go back-to-back if he wants to do it. Stay tuned, guys. We will be back momentarily with match number 4, where the players will be able to choose freely from the 3 decks they brought to play this week. Still coming down off that match. That was great stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, on the one hand, it feels like Owen top decks to win it, but on the other hand, he was like, scry, 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 draw, take damage, take damage. He had like 7 or 8 draw steps to come up with the top deck.
Yeah, and Owen did scry numerous lands to the bottom in that time. Owen was significantly far ahead for a long time, so him drawing on the last possible turn, I guess he could have scried 1 more to the bottom and drawn it. He was 1 card. He got to see 1 extra card.
Sure. All right, match number 4. You're Josh Utter-Leyton. You've seen Owen's decks at this point. What are you thinking? What are you going to bring to the table?
I think, given what I've seen, probably Jeskai, because I think Owen's going to play Obzon, but I don't think you want to play Devotion against Heroic. Devotion against Obzon's fine though, so maybe Devotion. Obzon aggro, I don't think you want to play against either the Red Green Dragons deck or the Obzon deck. Though there's no truly bad matchups there.
Yeah, Obzon aggro doesn't feel like it's advantaged in any of them. It's definitely not up.
If you thought Owen was going to play Heroic, I wouldn't be unhappy playing it.
Yeah, but sure, you have an edge there, but you also just lost it.
Right, but like that doesn't... I mean, you still have 3 self-inflicted wounds in your sideboard. I think you do know that matchup is not that bad.
But you're a dog in the other 2 matchups, so you're ruling out Obzon aggro. And you think Owen is most likely to play Obzon, the mid-range one that he has, the Megamorph deck. So you're on Jeskai?
I think that's where I land. You could try to level... The most favorable matchup, again, is if he plays Red Green Dragons and you play Red Green Devotion. But I don't think Owen's all that likely to play Red Green Dragons for that reason.
Well, if you're Owen and you know Josh is playing Jeskai, what do you play?
I think that you might want to play. Well, you saw Valor Stance and Jeskai Charm, which makes Heroic a little bit less appealing. Honestly, I think Obzon's still fine there. I guess you could play Red Green Dragons because you have flyers, but Red Green Dragons doesn't really want to see Ash Cloud Phoenix. I guess Red Green Dragons actually, Storm Breath does get around Valorous Stance and Jeskai Charm and Lightning Strike. You didn't see Stoke out of Josh. You might not. It's hard to assume he's not playing Stoke, but I could see wanting to do that. You saw Crater's Claws. You saw all these cards. If you don't see Stokes, then your Dragons are actually looking pretty good.
So if you're Owen trying to next level Josh, you might try to play Dragons into his Jeskai.
I could see doing that, yeah.
All right. Now, I sounded like our producer may have actually heard what they're playing. I didn't quite hear it, though. What's the actual answer? Oh, Josh is playing Devotion. So Josh is trying to next level Owen.
It's also possible that depending on how the lists play out, Josh is happy playing Devotion against Owen's Obzon deck. If you think Devotion is good against Obzon, you have good against Obzon, good against Dragons, though better against Dragons than Obzon, it's still. And I still don't think it's great against Heroic, but at least given that you have two good matchups and one questionable matchup.
Owen is playing red-green.
So it's
red-green Dragons.
So it is Dragons
against. Wound up on red-green.
That's pretty funny, and I think that favors Josh, even though he did.
Oh yeah,
he did end up losing that match.
He did lose that match, but I'm with you. I feel like it was the most lopsided of the three matches we saw. Interesting. So Owen tried to go next level, and Josh went next level.
That appears to be the case.
Crazy. Now, Owen does have the 2 win lead. So Owen only needs to win one of the next 2. He's won this particular matchup before. Let's get down to the match. Let's see what's going to happen. Yeah, Dragons versus Devotion.
This is a pretty solid hand for Josh. Because he has Elvish Mystic plus Xenagos or Pelucranos. He's got 2 Accelerants, 2 4-drops. Owen has a good hand too, though. He would kill for Rattleclaw to be Elvish Mystic because then he'd have turn 2 Rabble Master. As is, he can play a turn 2 Rattleclaw, and then Josh will have 2 Elvish Mystics out, and Owen will have a hard time keeping him off a 4-drop on 3 mana.
Interesting. I definitely feel like Josh won the deck matchup here. I think that he would have been happy playing against Obzon too. I mean, the thing is, Devotion is good against the Obzon, the fast Obzon, or kind of the mid-speed Obzon, which Owen kind of is more mid-range than control. You put a couple of sweeper effects in the Obzon deck, and suddenly the Devotion matchup gets good for Obzon. But Owen is more on Death Mists and whatnot. So I like Josh's decision to play Green-Red Devotion a lot.
If you think that your Red-Green Devotion deck is good against both Obzon and Red-Green Dragons, that already gives you a pretty decent shot at picking it. And if you think especially if you think Owen's not as likely to play Heroic as the other 2.
Yeah, now they still don't have deck lists. I don't know that Josh knows how many sweepers does Owen have in his Obzon, but he did see Wayfinders and Death Mists, and the Megamorph deck is not going to have as many End Hostilities or Cruxes as the more controllerless versions of the deck.
So Owen's got an interesting decision here, whether he wants to play Rattleclaw or just cast Roast. I'm leaning towards just casting Rattleclaw, but I could see Roast. The problem is if you cast Roast, you're still slowing yourself down by a turn. I guess if you really are planning on the next turn, riding the Rabble Master to victory, that's the reason to cast Roast there.
Yeah, last time this came up, Owen had a Thunderbreak that he could play on turn 3, but he doesn't have that in this draw. He has Storm Breath.
Given that you have a turn 3 Rabble Master regardless, the Roast does make sense. Though I don't think Josh is too unhappy with how this has played out. He still gets to play Pelucranos now. Or Xenagos if he wants, though. Pelucranos is, I think, the much safer play. It did work out better for Owen to do this, though, unquestionably, because had he just played Rattleclaw, Josh would have played Elvish Mystic and Sylvan Caryatid, and I think that ends up being worse for Owen here.
There's the Pelucranos.
Though Owen would have had a roast in hand to deal with Pelucranos, and now he does not.
Yeah, that's the tricky bit. He used roast on a mere Elvish Mystic.
An Elvish Mystic, of course, is also like a green mirror. Going back to our affinity days. So, Josh could block Rabblemaster if Owen chooses to attack with it, and then Owen can finish it off with Crater's Claws. That doesn't... He doesn't let you use Crater's Claws with Ferocious, though, so you're tapping a mana. I guess you're playing... At this point, you trade
Rattleclaw.
Yeah, you get to play Rattleclaw. You don't get to play a dragon this turn, but you do get the Pelucranos off the board, which is not very
Yeah,
easy.
I'd rather Crater's Claws, trade Crater's Claws plus Rabblemaster for Pelucranos and add Mystic to the board. That sounds better to me than just playing Thunderbreak.
Plus, you get 2 damage, and you get to keep both your tokens, though the tokens aren't really that great going forward. The biggest disadvantage to that is that playing Thunderbreak into Storm Breath if you draw a land, and then burning your opponent out with Crater's Claws has to be pretty appealing.
And Owen has changed his mind, so he's only going to send the tokens. One of them obviously gets eaten by Pelucranos. This allows him to play Thunderbreak here. And yeah, now if he top decks a land, he gets to play Storm Breath. If he doesn't top deck a land, though, he still gets to Crater's Claws the Pelucranos, potentially. Depending on what Josh does.
So Josh can play 2 Voyaging Satyrs this turn. He can also play Xenagos plus it and make 1 Voyaging Satyr. With a Nykthos in play, having 2 Voyaging Satyrs out seems pretty good. Also, you get to block a bunch of Goblins tokens.
This does mean that Pelucranos can get eaten by Crater's Claws, though.
I think Owen's just going to clock
Josh. Well, yeah, he's got both choices. He can either kill Pelucranos or play Storm Breath. And we've seen him, when it was that close, choose the aggressive line, right? He does not win the late game, so choosing the line that does damage to the opponent seems better. And that Crater's Claws can get pointed at Josh's face relatively soon as well.
Yeah, if you attack Josh down to 10, he has to have a Hornet Queen or he's dead to basically just the dragons. And it looks like, could Josh have activated Nykthos last turn? He could have played Elvish Mystic, activated Nykthos, and played 2 Voyaging Satyrs. Yeah, that is a bit better. Old Bro 6 points out in the chat. I like that line.
He could have Elvish Mystic in play instead of in his hand.
Mm-hmm. I think Josh is most likely going to die to these dragons already, regardless. But
yeah, he can get a. How big can he Genesis Hydra? Can he get to 7?
So let's say Owen plays Storm Breath and attacks. Next turn, you can activate Nykthos. Well, I guess you play Elvish Mystic first.
Yep.
Then you activate Nykthos for 3, 4, 5, 6. Untap it. Go to 4 to 10, 8, 14. You can cast Genocider for 12. And then you decent chance of hitting Hornet Queen.
Wow. Crater's Claws is how Owen has decided to play this.
He's just going to smash for 4. And plus, actually gets to attack for 8.
The Rabblemaster gets to attack this way. That's what's going on. So he still gets to hit for 8 because the Rabblemaster gets through unblocked. And he's turned the Nykthos down by 2. So instead of Genesis Hydra for 12, it's almost nothing.
So now, had Josh had an Elf in play, it would be a little bit better for him. He'd have 2 mana more. Josh could still play Elf. Nykthos and Nykthos adds 1 mana, essentially. Like 1 bonus mana. And then you can play 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I guess you can still Genocider, but not for quite enough here.
Yeah, you can't get to Hornet Queen. Or it's Arc.
Let's see. 2, 6, 4, 8. Yeah, you can Genocider for 6, 7, it looks like, actually.
Oh, can he get to 7? If he can Hydra for 7, that's got to be the play. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, it looks like Genocider for 7 here.
6. Yeah, I agree. I get 7.
And then you could also have played Xenagos first, actually, by tapping 2 more lands, tick it up to add 3 mana, play Elf, go to 2, and then you basically just get to Nykthos for extra here. So, and I think you have to Genesis Hydra hoping to hit Hornet Queen here. If you miss on Hornet Queen, You can hit a Tarka, and then you just kill the Rabbit Master and have a blocker. That is pretty good. So Josh is going to go for it here. Yeah, Voyaging Satyr Nykthos is still powerful, even without a Polucrinus in play. I guess Xenagos is free here. I guess it doesn't matter which order you play. No, you're one Nykthos activation short by doing it this way, but this is still pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, if he'd had the Mystic in play, he would have been able to... From last turn, he could have played Xenagos without tapping Nykthos this turn.
Basically, he'd have two more mana off of just not playing the Elf and the Xenagos, and being able to tap it, and then you would be able to play Xenagos before using the Nykthos. So I guess 3 more, something like that, and then he gets to
Genesis Hydra. What this comes down to is Genesis Hydra for 9, and there you go. There's the Hornet Queen and the Atarka. Which one does he want?
I would assume Hornet Queen is better here.
I would assume Hornet Queen as well.
So the problem is if you get a Tarka and you target the Thunderbreak, it shoots you for 3. And I feel like getting burned out has got to be your #1 concern here, because you kind of have the board stabilized. The difference, though, and the advantage, I guess, of getting a Tarka is a Tarka, if you're in a position to attack, a Tarka does a lot more damage.
Yes.
But I would still prefer to just get Hornet Queen here. I think that is safer.
Do you think our knowledge of the Storm Breath is throwing that off at all?
Well, I guess one thing that Josh doesn't know that we know is that we know that Owen only has 1 Atarka in his deck, and Hornet Queen is worse against Atarka.
Sure.
So if Josh is worried about that, of course, I guess Owen's only on 5 mana, though.
He goes Atarka.
Yeah.
Now he can kill one of the 2 creatures, but not both. Kills the Rabbit Master.
Yeah, the advantage of killing Rabbit Master is that you don't take 3 off the Thunderbreak. And then Josh is actually getting kind of close to Xenagos going ultimate here.
Ooh, Draconic Roar is the draw for Owen.
Generally not a bad card. It can also send Xenagos down. I guess Josh is also threatening nearly lethal with Genesis Hydra plus Atarka. And that's the advantage to Atarka, is that it attacks much better. Of course, she doesn't block multiple dragons. So let's say Owen could play a dragon, attack with both. You block the Storm Breath. I guess you could actually even block Thunderbreak if you thought you were going to target something soon. You go to 6.
No cards in hand, though. I think you block Storm Breath and take monsters out of play.
Yeah. Well, no cards in hand, the monstrous is also not super problematic. Well, of course, if you attack with both dragons, Owen's just dead on board, so Owen can't do that.
Interesting. Owen sets up Rattleclaw and Draconic Roar, so he's holding back the hasty Storm Breath Dragon, thinking maybe Josh will start attacking me with that Atarka. If Josh attacks the Atarka, he's dead.
Yeah, I kind of doubt Atarka's turning sideways here.
I mean, that's the way. I mean, Owen has played it where if Josh does attack, he just gets to win.
Correct. So you certainly attack with Genesis Hydra. If you attack with both, you force a chump of Genesis Hydra. Then Owen goes down to 9. Yeah, I don't love attacking with Atarka here. I don't think it gets you to where you want it to be.
Uh-oh. Oh. Pause them.